So hello guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl Barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. Welcome to another episode of Legally Speaking. Long time no Legally Speaking, and it feels so good to be robed. Well, not fully robed because I don't have my wig. It feels so good to be robed, to sit in front of you and give you guys some premium gist and what the law has to say about it. So there was this particular story that caught my attention on the internet some days back, and I'm like, it'd be a very good idea for me to bring this topic to my channel for us to discuss, because this topic, a lot of people are quite ignorant about the legal implications surrounding this topic, despite it happens so rampantly in our society today. So without further ado, let us dive right into the gist. So this story is about a lady called Aisha. She's a popular Gambian socialite. Aisha was once married to a certain footballer, but that marriage was very short-lived. After a while, they went their separate ways. So Aisha is a divorcee, but there is no way in the world that Aisha is your regular, usual, normal divorcee. Aisha was still in the business of showing men all shades of shiggy. Aisha is beautiful, she's charming, she's attractive, and it wasn't so long after her divorce that this her charm caught the next man. So according to reports, Aisha met Abdullahi, a very successful Senegalese businessman in the capital city of Dakar, and shortly after they met, they kicked off a love affair. Abdullahi quickly fell so much in love, head over heels in love with Aisha. He melted so fast like butter in hot pan, and before long he proposed to Aisha and asked her to marry him. Aisha agreed, okay? She accepted his proposal and they began preparations for their wedding. Now, according to Abdullahi, listen to this part very well, because this piece of information is very critical to this case. Listen to this part. Abdullahi claimed that it was premised on Aisha's acceptance to marry him that he began spending and lavishing millions on her. Premised on her acceptance to marry him. Not like boyfriend and girlfriend, no. He began spending on her because she was now his fiancée, because she had accepted to marry him, not because she was just a girlfriend. So in other words, had Aisha not accepted to marry Abdullahi, he wouldn't have lavished all this money on her. I hope you're following. We're getting somewhere. So first, he flew her to Paris, or they flew to Paris, all expense paid by him. There he gave her 100,000 euros to purchase designer handbags. And then he gave her another 50,000 US dollars to shop for African prints in Nigeria. Nigeria, can you just leave us out of this? We're going through a lot already as a country. Leave us out of this. And then again, he spent a whooping $100,000 in preparation for a lavish wedding. Their lavish wedding. He claims that another 150,000 euros was given to Aisha to construct a 3-story complex. He didn't stop there. Abdullahi gave Aisha another $19.5 million to purchase a villa. He bought her a Mercedes and also gave her millions of sefa to buy expensive jewelry. Abdullahi was certainly not a guy to hold it back when he was in love. He had fallen head over heels with Aisha and he was willing to let his money do the talking. Now, after all of this lavishing and spending and planning and investing on his fiancée, Aisha abruptly ended the engagement and disappeared from his life. Like, she literally just left. So Abdullahi has dragged Aisha to court to refund all of the money and all of the gifts that he gave her during the course of their engagement. Now, this is about to get interesting, but before I go on, start to drop in the comment section what you think about this. Do you think that he is justified, or do you think that it is investment gone bad? After all, there are a lot of other intangibles that Aisha may have also invested in the relationship that she would never be able to get back. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section before we proceed. So we're going to proceed with this conversation, legally speaking, morally speaking, and commonsensically speaking. Legally, there are no laws that compel a person to return a gift that was given to her or him voluntarily, as long as that gift was not obtained out of duress, fraud, undue influence, undue advantage, or any form of misrepresentation. The law does not confer a right to you to retrieve a gift that you gave voluntarily. So in this case, does Abdullahi have any right in law? Does the law protect him and many men like him in cases like this? In this case, the closest exception that I can tie to this kind of gift is that it was obtained under fraud. If it can be proven that Aisha fraudulently accepted that proposal, not because she wanted to marry Abdullahi, but just for the sole purpose of ripping him off financially, I mean, she had no intention from the onset to marry him. She just said yes because she wanted to milk him dry. Then he may have a case in law under fraud. But then again, that would be a very difficult case to prove, okay? Because Aisha can as well claim that at the point when he proposed to her, she loved him and she wanted to marry him. But along the line, towards the tail end of the relationship, she observes that they were not compatible, or there were some characteristics or behaviors of his that she couldn't put up with, or that she simply fell out of love with him. Oh yes, the law takes cognizance of that. That she fell out of love with him at the end of the relationship, not at the point when he was proposing. Then she can have a defense that her intention was not fraud. Now, can you understand how difficult it is to prove that? Because Aisha can claim anything. So the man here, Abdullahi, or his legal team have to come up with some very, very strong evidence that her intention from the onset was fraud. Evidence like, for example, a recorded conversation, voice note or telephone conversation with a friend, where she admitted that she had no intention of getting married to him, and that of course will be very, very difficult to get. Anything outside of this, it will be difficult for Abdullahi because those gifts were given voluntarily. Another angle of the law, which a lot of people are not acquainted with, very interesting law I must add, is the law on the breach of promise of marriage. Breach of promise of marriage is a tort in law. It is a civil wrong. It is a law that punishes somebody who has promised another person that he or she is going to marry them and ends up jilting or disappointing them. Oh yes, I'm sure you're surprised, but yes, the law makes provision for that. The law makes provision to protect and compensate a disappointed or dumped fiancé or fiancé. Now, to qualify for an action under breach of promise of marriage, the plaintiff, the complainant, the person that is suing, must prove these things. He or she must prove that there was actually a promise of marriage. And when I say promise, I mean in form of a proposal and an acceptance, in form of exchange of engagement rings, engagement bracelets or necklaces, and something of that sort. Note that the law will not take cognizance of mere pillow talk or planning of future informally. There has to be some sort of a formal asking and acceptance. Secondly, the agreement to marry must be mutual. So if one person desires marriage from another and merely assumes consent, the second person didn't give consent, you just assumed that because you're in a relationship, this person has agreed to marry you. The law describes you as being on a frolic of your own. Such a claim will not hold water. There must be an action and there must be direct acceptance of the proposal. Thirdly, and of course, just like every other contract, the nullifying or vitiating elements of a contract must not be present. When I say nullifying elements of contracts, there are some things that exist in a contract that will make that contract not to be able to hold water. One, for example, age. You know that the law does not take account of any contract that you go into with a minor. So when you ask a 17-year-old girl to marry you, that contract or that agreement cannot hold according to law because she lacks the legal capacity to make informed decisions for herself. Another is mistake. For example, wild example, they are twins. You are dating one of a twin, and the other twin asked you to marry him, and you accepted based on the premise that you thought it was your boyfriend without knowing that it was the second person, that is a mistake. And such an agreement cannot be enforceable in law. Another vitiating element is duress. So when a guy has a gun on your head and asks you to marry him and you say yes, that concurrence was obtained under duress and cannot stand the test of the law. Another is misrepresentation. So when Adebayo, Dangote's son, asks you to marry him and you eventually discover that he's an offspring of Dangote's security man, there's nothing wrong in that status, but you accepted that proposal based on a misrepresentation, and that cannot hold in law. So there are several vitiating factors and elements that can make a contract null, and the same applies to a promise of marriage. So if you hinge your refusal to go ahead with the marriage based on these vitiating or nullifying factors, the law sees you as doing the right thing. Lastly, it must be proven that that erring party has failed to, refused to, or neglected to proceed with the marriage. And this can be directly or indirectly. It can be through words or actions. When I say words, simply saying, I can't go on. No, I don't want to marry you anymore. Clear. Actions can be anything in the world, like going ahead to get married to somebody else, or cutting off communication, or simply frustrating the other person and ensuring that the wedding does not hold. So these must be proven. We are getting there. Will Abdullahi get justice? We are getting there, because these cases are very rampant in our society now. We are getting there. So I'm sure at this juncture, you are very curious to know what remedy in law awaits such a plaintiff or a complainant. Can the court grant an order compelling that erring or defaulting party to proceed with the marriage by fire, by force? Yes, you accepted to marry this man, you spent his money. You must marry him. Can the court give such an order? The answer is no. Because unlike other contracts where the court can impose on the defaulter to proceed with his contractual obligation, the courts cannot do that under this case, because the court takes cognizance of the peculiarities of marriage. The law understands the sensitivity and the impracticability of giving such an order. Hello? Can the court force you to be with who you don't want to be with? It's impracticable. So what remedies await such a person? It's called damages. Monetary damages. And such damages can take two forms. It can be general damages, where the court awards you money for your pain, your tears, your sleepless nights, intangibles, what you have suffered that cannot be estimated in monetary value, your bruised ego, the disgrace, the shame, the emotional trauma. That comes under general damages. Then special damages is more quantifiable. It can be estimated. It affects property. For example, the court can award you damages for the financial loss you incurred planning a wedding that was called off. To retrieve back a ring. Oh yes, he engaged you with a diamond ring. The court can give a mandate for you to return it. And the court can, of course, give an order for recovery of presents which were given under the engagement. Oh yes, the court can sure order a return of assets. And these two kinds of damages are rewarded separately. So the court can award 5 million naira as general damages and say 15 million naira as special damages. More interestingly is that these damages can also be claimed against a third party who instigated or induced the breach of promise of marriage. So when next you are eating Emeka's shawarma and burger, promising him marriage, knowing that you have no intention to marry him, you will vomit that burger. So wrapping it up, in this case, I'm not quite conversant with Gambian laws. I'm a Nigerian lawyer. I don't know whether Gambians have this law on breach of promise of marriage. If you're Gambian, let me know if you've heard about this law or wherever you come from. US, UK, Sierra Leone, Canada, wherever in the world you come from, let me know whether you've heard about this law on breach of promise of marriage. So if this law is enshrined in the Gambian laws, then Abdullahi has a very strong case and he can seek restitution. But if it's not enshrined in the Gambian laws, then I'm sorry. That is just investments gone bad. So this story, on a more serious note, brings us to the everyday reality of these kinds of occurrences. You see cases in Nigeria, for example, where I come from, where young men sponsor young women through university, see them through school on the premise that she is going to marry him. And these ladies come out of school and for some reason they stop to find this man attractive, or they start to find him beneath their social status, and they begin to quietly withdraw from the man. And yes, these cases are not even gender specific alone. We see cases of men also that string women along. They have no intention of marrying her. They put a ring on her finger, waste her years, waste her time, and finally she begins to seem too old for him, and he moves on to a younger lady when sister is already nearing menopause. It is common practice everywhere, and you see people resorting to violence, sometimes murder suicide, sometimes outright murder. But no, the law makes provision for it in many jurisdictions. So let me know what you think about this case in particular, and also let me know what you think generally about the law on the breach of promise of marriage. Do you think it's morally right? Do you think it's a good one and it should be adopted in all countries all around the world? Or do you think it's outrightly ridiculous and unnecessary and does not fit into the 21st century lifestyle? Do you think that it should be upheld or it should be scrapped? Maybe because in as much as one person may have spent more financially, it's possible that the other party also gave so much in the relationship that may not be quantified. Time, energy, business ideas, bedmatics, and all of that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section about this very controversial law on the breach of promise of marriage, and let me know what you think about Aisha going ahead to spend the millions and millions of Abdullahi's money and at the end of the day calling it off. I would like to read all of your opinion down in the comment section. So thank you so much guys for watching. We have finally come to the end of today's video. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're not subscribed to Nezaville, turn on your bell notifications because we have so much more coming your way. Give this video a big thumbs up and make sure you engage in the video by dropping your comments down below. It's me, your girl Barrister Neze, and this is Nezaville. I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye.